Art of Service live. This time, a little bit different time slot, 10 o'clock in the morning, because I did not want to miss out on a conversation with Daniel Alenaddaf. I have known Dan since November 2017, so that's nearly 5 years now. And I am absolutely amazed by his journey, his story, the lessons learned. He runs one of the biggest e-commerce companies in Australia and is a truly humble person. It's probably not what you would think at all when you think about somebody who runs a really successful e-commerce company. So I am thrilled to have you on today, Dan. How
Thanks,
do you
Ivanka.
normally introduce yourself?
I can do a quick intro. Thank you, Ivanka. So Daniel Alenaddaf, co-founder of gymandfitness.com.au. We're the largest e-com retailer of gym equipment specific to home use within Australia and New Zealand. And we also design, manufacture, and distribute our products to about 30 odd countries around the world as well.
Excellent. And you are a husband and a
And
father.
a husband.
Yeah,
I have a
you
wife and 3 kids. That keeps me busy outside of my work life. And on top of that, owning a gym equipment company, I love to train and run and do some trail runs and all of those fun things as well.
Yeah, fantastic. And that's probably one of the things that stands out the most when I think about you, especially when you're in a business situation, you're in a business environment. It almost seems that when you talk to other entrepreneurs, it's like, the busier you are, the better it is. And it's almost like this holy grail of like, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. And then you talk to Dan and then he's like, no, my priorities are my family, my fitness, my business. So talk to me about your schedule, your priorities, the choices that you've made.
I think the inspiration came from our forum with Simon, actually, and seeing how he manages his day-to-day life. But essentially, I think it's all about leveraging your team and having the right people around you in the right roles. I'm all for working on your strengths, or my strengths at least, and just not the weaknesses, and just being honest and being totally honest and upfront about the weaknesses and what I'm not good at, and just filling those gaps with people that are just better than me in the business. So I think that's important to know.
Yeah. So what are your strengths? What is it? What's your superpower?
Good question. A lot of ideas. I lead up our innovation division within the business now. So I'm still a director in the business. Still have all of those legal and ethical and all the responsibilities that comes with that. But my passion and probably superpower is innovation. We stifled innovation in the business a while ago, and we had a lot of competitors catch up over the years that we didn't innovate. And one of the learnings there was just, we either innovate or we die, and we need to stay ahead of the game and continue to build that IP in the business around innovation, and innovation being so many aspects within the business, aside from your typical, I think a lot of people think about product innovation, which is just developing something better, but it's not necessarily. It could be within the business's systems and processes day to day. Could be within sales. So that's what I love.
So with the importance being I was just trying to put you full screen before, and it just totally didn't work. Because I want people to really focus on what you're saying, because
Yeah.
innovation being so important in your business, yet you said we stifled innovation a few years ago. We stopped focusing on that. What happened? What was the instigator of that?
Well, we decided, so, leading with ecom, we decided for some reason that it would be good to get into, the retail bricks and mortar game. And so we did that, and we scaled up some stores pretty quickly around Australia, and just took focus off the core business, essentially. Took focus off core business. We were focusing on the wrong things, not on our strengths. And it was very difficult to scale that part of the business at that time. So that's really what led us to just not innovating. We were focusing on the wrong areas.
Yeah. So let's take 25 steps back, because we've sort of been diving in the deep end of the pool here. Daniel decides to start a business. When was that, and why was that?
I started back in about 2005, 2006 within the fitness equipment space. So just designing and manufacturing and importing and wholesaling. So I had a wholesale business.
A job for another company, or?
If we're going all the way back, I used to work in a sporting goods store, a retail store, in the fitness department here on the Gold Coast, and just started developing my network that way. Had no idea about business, but one thing led to another, and an opportunity arose to. There was a bit of a gap in the market within strength equipment within a niche in the fitness space for home use back then, and so I came up with a solution. I solved that problem and delivered a solution for a few retailers in the area. And that's kind of what led us to where we are today.
Yeah. You mentioned us. So do you have business partners? Have you always worked solo? How is that structured?
Yeah, got a co-founder in the business. So Gym and Fitness. So Dave at Gym and Fitness, he founded the business back in 2002. Was just an ecom out of his bedroom, and I think he was doing archery at the time for AIS, and just needed extra income, and so I started supplying him through my wholesale business back in maybe 2006, 2007 perhaps, and then we just got together in sometime around then, and just decided, hey, let's just go into this thing 50-50. Both similar ages and both fairly aligned values wise. So it seemed to be a good match, and it has been. And since then, we've given our two GMs in the business, share options in the business, which they purchased and bought into.
Yeah.
The goal has really been to remove ourselves as well from essentially key man risk and the day-to-day side of things, so the business can have its big boy pants and operate on its own.
So working with a partner, a 50-50 partner in your case, what are the biggest learnings from that experience? So if somebody comes to you and says, hey, Dan, I'm really thinking of starting a business. Should I go alone? Should I go with partners? What would you recommend based from your experience and your learnings?
I think I experience here, and I've never had any other any other partnerships until recently with another business. But with my first partner and our additional shareholders in the business, we've got a complete values alignment. Both not just business values, but also family values, and all very ethical, just completely aligned as being just good human beings. I think it's just great to do business with good people that have got your back when you're up against the wall as well. So
so the personal values are really important. So that's
Yeah.
what you use as a yardstick, basically.
Pretty much any transactions or relationships that we've attempted to get into, or any other businesses through this core business over the past few years, has usually failed because of the misalignment in values.
Interesting. So that's a big lesson learned. And it's not just for partners, but like you say, it's suppliers, vendors, clients. It's everybody.
I think so.
Only do
100%.
business with people that you align with or that you like. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, and it applies with everything. Yeah, manufacturers across the board. Definitely.
Yeah. So the two of you started this business, and that was Australian Gym and Fitness. Was that
was Australian Fitness Suppliers, and then a subsidiary of that is Gym and Fitness.
Yeah. So how did you grow that? And because you're very successful with that business. I've only been part of a small portion of that, but there's a lot of growth, even pre-COVID. So what do you think is the secret sauce there? What made that such a success?
Well, it's been since 2008, and even before that, with Gym and Fitness just being so well established. Initially, I think it's the combination of the wholesale and the retail channel, and the retail channel being so strong. Back in 2008, it wasn't a significant portion of the business, and it's really adapted and changed, and it's us adapting and changing to the times too. So looking back, we had a lot of key accounts, multinational retailers. We used to do shaker bottles and products like that as well, sort of outside of gym equipment, into Chemist Warehouse and the likes. But that business, once the product got commoditized, it was very difficult to make a margin, and we moved on. So it's, I guess, adapting and looking 3 to 5 years ahead on where the market's going to be leading. I think looking forward now. So back then we were looking at where we should be, and we positioned ourselves well, and we kind of do that on a regular basis. I think it's important, an important part and a strength of ours that we do. So we're at the moment we're driving towards the technology piece, so incorporating technology within our products and what we do, because I think within our space, any sort of commodity product will probably be dead within the next 5 odd years if they don't keep up, because consumers are looking for the tech piece within everything now. So
so you need to incorporate that in everything that you do.
So
while you were talking, I was thinking, because a lot of the stuff that I do and a lot of the clients I work with is all about process improvement and process maturity. So you're talking about defining what something means within your business, and then measure what you've got, and then analyze your measurements, and then improve to be able to control and sustain a specific level of quality and deliverable. So when you talk about we're forecasting 3 to 5 years out, we know what the market wants, we know, and innovation is really important. How important are business processes and measurement of business processes for you? Or what
I
are your
think
steps?
I think initially probably not as important, but once there's some traction, definitely very important to have a repeatable process for anybody to be able to step into the role. It's not always doable necessarily because there's some roles that require a bit of skill and a bit of leveling up, so to speak. But yeah, definitely important if you want to scale a business. If you want to keep it, as a small business owner operator, perhaps not as important. But yeah, anything you want to scale definitely needs to have a well well-oiled process, and then it needs to be adapted and changed over time as well, quite regularly. Otherwise, otherwise you'll be looking at 3-year-old processes that probably haven't been looked at by anybody, and you just get in the habit of just creating process for the sake of it.
Yeah. It needs to have a reason.
Definitely. Yeah.
So the other thing
But
that you mentioned was certain roles are very systemized, and you need to be able to put new people in that role whenever I need. But others, I need certain skills. So what's the separation there? Like what's the differentiator?
I can speak to our our category, I suppose. Typically, I think it'd be very difficult, and we've had people within the product development um, roles that in the past that don't do fitness, and it's just never worked. And so that's probably a prime example of having the right people with the right foundation. They've already leveled up on what gym equipment is, for example, what every movement targets, which muscle every movement targets, and not just that, but also the different types of training to be able to understand our customer. Um, we're quite detailed in that process now. Before we even deliver a product to market, we go to we essentially try and find the problem that we're trying to solve with the product, and what the consumers want. And there's a lot of back and forth there, and we just refine rather than, in the past we would just sort of have an idea and think it was a game changer, but then and put 6 months of development into it, but then on launch it was a flop. So so really being quite you know I guess focused on the innovation piece and having a process like you mentioned, that is a repeatable process that can be followed. Yeah,
Yeah. So
definitely
it's
important.
really understanding your target client, really understanding the market, and not just creating a product or a service because you kind of like it.
Well, that's kind of how every business starts, right?
Mhm.
We see something cool, and you know we think that there's a need for it if we can't find it anywhere else, and that's how most businesses start. But to grow the business, yeah, definitely you can't keep doing that, because there's only so much of that to be found.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to deliver what customers actually are wanting.
Yeah. Now let's talk specific e-commerce, because I know that through the COVID period, a lot of people have started e-commerce businesses or added e-commerce to their their standard or their historical business.
Mm.
What is so special about e-commerce, and how are you maintaining the success in it? Because I also know that a lot of people that started it in 2020 are really struggling at the moment.
Mm.
So what's
Yeah.
the secret there? Like how to grow an e-commerce business successfully?
Um, I think it depends on the business. So firstly, I think it depends on the type of e-com business. The experience
What do you mean by that?
that I've got The experience that I've got is within gym equipment, so it's very different to, let's say, an apparel business. So I've also got I guess, a startup business that I invested in, that I'm not involved in day to day, but just as a shareholder, which is an eyewear and apparel business as well. And so it's very interesting to see both, how different they really are. The customer acquisition process, the marketing processes are totally different. So to give you an example, with gym equipment, we're kind of lucky to hit a sort of 6-to-1 ROAS on our ad spend. Eyewear is kind of like the 2-to-1, and so it's not really scalable in the same way. It's also heavy Facebook and Instagram and TikTok versus gym equipment, where people jump on Google and actually do a Google search. So influence is very different. So I think it's important, coming back to your question, to I guess look to see what or at least get a better understanding of what the leader within that market, within your market and your category, is doing. The well-established ones, because they've probably figured it out by now, after a couple of years. COVID really had a bit of a false, sort of, I don't know, maybe the blinders on for some entrepreneurs that started during COVID, because it just wasn't sustainable, the demand. And so we would have seen a lot of businesses scaling up very quickly and being highly profitable, but then dropping off probably around June 2020, at least here in Australia. Maybe US is a little bit different. And then sort of still kind of maintaining a decent level, probably up until April, May of this year, potentially, maybe a little bit earlier, where it started to really taper off again, almost back to pre-COVID, early 2020 numbers.
Okay. So why do you think that is?
I just think it's consumer habits. They're just they're not at home buying everything. It's definitely what we're seeing, I suppose, within our space, is sales are still great, not what they were, but still really good opportunities, top of the funnel now, to close deals. People are training at home and at gyms, so that the habits have changed. So we're probably 1 to 2 years ahead of where the growth trajectory would have been. Bringing it back to your question, how do you make an e-com company successful? I definitely think having the right team in place and the right strategy to execute on is key. The strategy with an apparel, or a small, easy to ship product is a lot different to a big and bulky good. So, gym and fitness business might be a 400 kilo pallet, which you can only ship, within Australia, whereas a t-shirt and pair of sunglasses, you can ship globally within 5 days.
Yeah.
Locally within a day, and although the AOVs are completely different too, and the strategy is completely different too. So, for example, eyewear, you can use a micro-influencer strategy. So essentially, instead of having sales reps, you have, so a gym business or a big bulky goods, you could apply that to furniture and other bulky goods products. That type of a business requires traditional salespeople to close deals, whether it's over the phone or email, because it's not all click and buy. Is completely different to a small item apparel business, for example, where it's so contingent on your influencer strategy on Facebook and Instagram to be able to scale. So they're, you still have sales reps, but they're sort of managing influencers instead of traditional salespeople in a way.
Yeah. So you've really honed in on the influencer marketing side of that e-commerce business.
Within gym equipment, I think it's a bit difficult because it's the product doesn't really lend itself very easily. So we're trying to figure that out. So that's still a work in progress. So it's more of a traditional, spend money on Google and rely on your organic as well, and SEO and all of the other components. But I think the other part of it is, you mentioned a lot of people started in pre-COVID or kicked off in COVID, and it's easy to forget how long we've been going at this as well. And successful businesses aren't built overnight. They're built over quite a long period of time. So I think just the perseverance component of the business. We've had ups and downs over the years. It hasn't been smooth sailing at all. But we're still here, and we're focused on innovation and growing.
So that really comes full circle back again to work with people with shared core values, work with a team that have the right skills, that can really almost backfill your own strengths, like where you're lacking your strengths, you have a team to fill up to do those things, but also people that understand your product and your market.
Yeah, and it's got to be fun too.
Of course, there's no use doing something that you don't like. It's too risky. It's too risky for that.
Yeah.
So you have basically your finger in multiple businesses. So what is a day in the entrepreneur, Daniel? What does your day look like? Because like we said at the start, a lot of people tend to think that, as an entrepreneur, you're just busy. You have to do 100-hour weeks. It's like, it's almost like the more hours you put in, the more you're being heralded and people are amazed about it. But what does your day look like running 3 businesses, or 4 or 5? How many do you have at the moment that you have an interest in?
Well, technically just the 2, but I can't take any credit for running the businesses. I'm not involved in sort of the day-to-day running of the businesses anymore. So I guess that what the day looks like to me is a lot different than what it looked like a few years back, and probably what it's going to look a lot different to what it's going to look like in another year or 2 as well. So I just find I've learned to just be comfortable with just adapting and changing the way that my the way that my weeks look, depending on what's going on with in life at the moment as well. And having a family, 3 kids, it's definitely has its challenging moments. And so I used to do, and I guess we as a leadership team used to do some really crazy hours, and the learning from their 80 to 100-hour days. I think during COVID was probably the last experience of doing those crazy hours. During the peak of COVID, my wife brought my kids to our warehouse because I hadn't seen them for a week to come visit me, because we were literally operating 24 hours a day for a full week and a bit. But that changes depending on the circumstances too. So at the moment, I'm involved quarterly within the eyewear and apparel startup. So just more so in an advisory Uh, um,
Mm-hmm.
and then within our gym equipment business, Australian Fitness Supplies and Gym and Fitness, I'm involved daily actually within our innovation hub, and so that's day to day, but quite flexible on the day to day. So usually Monday to Wednesday, I love being in the office with the team. I think it's pretty important. I'm also trying to level up our innovation team so that it's not contingent on me in another 12 months. And so I've got our innovation coordinator at the moment shadowing me, and sort of seeing how I operate, and so that's a process. So the intent there is for him to replace me within 12 months, and then I'm not sure. So quite flexible, Monday to Wednesday in the office. I just love being with in the mix with everybody. And then Thursday, Friday, I'm sort of work from home. And then throughout the day, I usually start off the day, I guess, if you want the full detail and what my day looks like. It's I love to get up at about whenever I get up. It might be 6 o'clock. I don't get up super early, although some people might call that early. And just do something to move my body in the morning. It might be a jog or something light, maybe a swim or a jog, maybe a sauna if I get a chance. I just find I get my head right, and I guess I get in the flow of things, if you want to call it that. It sets the day up right. School drop off. Make sure that I have a coffee with Zion before school. Do some learning with him, drop him off, and then I'm off. I'm usually in the office by about 9:30 or so, and usually up until about 2 o'clock, and then I'll prioritize school pickup. So I just love to be there and do that because I think it's important.
Yeah. I mean that in itself is inspirational, because a lot of people don't realize the focus and the priority on what you value in life, and you are very, very strict on that. And I know it's been frustrating in the past where I didn't have that mind space or that mindset myself, where I'm like, what do you mean you have to be home by 6 to do bathing or washing the kids? I go like, no, there's business stuff to be done. But I actually truly admire that you have such a priority on being a family man, and that you're not like this distant person that the kids sort of go like, who is that man who's at the dinner table on Sunday? It's I think it's something that really shows your core values in everything you do.
Yeah, and I think we're kind of while we're raising our kids, we're kind of raising our grandkids in a way too, right? So that's the intent, and to set up a legacy for the kids, for my children and their children's children to be able to look back, and it's something that I didn't have growing up, and it's not something that I've been able to have as even a reference point necessarily. So it's important to me to create that for my kids and their kids.
Yeah, but I think it's also important for people to hear that it can be done, because there's a lot of discussion about diversity in the workplace and equality, gender equality, and a lot of women are saying like how difficult it is to start a business and still do the maternal thing and do kids drop-offs and pickups and all that sort of stuff. And it's just really, really good to hear you say how important it is to you, and you make it happen. You make choices, and yes, you say no to other things, but you make choices, and you still run super successful businesses.
Yeah, if I guess it was easy, everybody would be doing it, right? So it is hard, and it can be very difficult in the first few years. for sure. But if you want the flexibility and what not everybody has, you've got to sacrifice something to gain, something else. And so there might be a bit of hard work and some additional hours early on, but I think it's important that as soon as you can leverage other people or bring better people in, just do that, and it frees up whatever else is more important for you. Yeah.
And how does that translate to the culture in your own business? I mean, there's a lot of discussion at the moment, and when you read articles, on the news outlets, it's all about how people are struggling to find team members. A lot of and especially this week, with Elon Musk saying that everybody back in the office because it's a manufacturing business and you can't work from home. Whereas other organizations saying like we're missing out on candidates because people want to work from home. So how is the culture in your business with you at the helm, even though you may not be with your finger in all the pies?
Look, I think it's important. It's definitely challenging, first of all. So definitely acknowledge what you're saying in terms of difficult to find great talent. It's for me, it's important that our leadership team, be it from a board level down to exec and shareholders, etc. They're investing the time to build those relationships. I think it's all about relationships. You're always going to get people that are going to jump ship based on a better opportunity, maybe a bit more money, but you're likely to increase your chances through having some great relationships with key people in those leadership roles. I think, and then back onto your comment on process, I think anything below those leadership roles is usually relatively easy to replace as long as they're process driven. So that's okay. I guess it's not ideal, but it's okay. It's never ideal to have a transitioning team, but it's okay if you've got the right processes in place to slot somebody new in that may be a better values fit for the business too. So I think just got to keep rolling with it, because it is definitely challenging at the moment finding amazing talent, and there's a lot of big companies throwing a lot of money out there for that talent. So
So how do you attract talent? Like what is it that what is it that you focus on when you try to attract the right person?
I think making sure that there's depending on what they want, but the right talent usually wants career progression, and they've got a thirst for learning, especially at that leadership level, or definitely management and leadership level. So I think making sure that we're providing the platform of continuous improvement, whatever that looks like to them, and sort of bringing them in the family in a way.
So
leading from the front. It's got to be led from your the shareholders. If I suppose if I wasn't so running a gym equipment fitness company, if I wasn't fit and healthy, and my nutrition wasn't on point, and I wasn't continuously learning, running a company, and wanting to level up and be a better human being, then that's probably going to show in the culture of the business and performance too. So
well, I'm glad you mentioned your fitness, because I did want to talk to you about that one, because you are insanely fit. Like, I compare that to most other people that I know, and you are like right up there, to the extent that you even auditioned for Ninja Warrior a few years ago.
Yes, that was fun.
So tell me about that experience, because that was way beyond what you've ever done before.
I just I didn't train for it. I just thought it would be cool, and my kids were watching we kind of watched it regularly and give it a go and see how it goes. But it is very difficult. It's very grip strength, sort of climbing. Have to have just amazing grip to be able to succeed in that specifically. And I'm a little bit heavier, 84 odd kilos. So it was a fun experience. I took the kids; they cheered me on. That was pretty cool. But generally speaking, the intent for me is just set a good example for the kids and my family. And they think I'm a bit crazy with doing the ice baths and saunas and that sort of thing. But I think if I'm setting a good example, they follow and they come and join. Organically, they just sort of see me in the gym or stretching with my wife, and they come and join in, and it's pretty cool to see that it's just something that they now do. I don't remember doing that with my parents. So I just think to be an amazing entrepreneur and to be always on the way that you kind of have to be when you're dealing with problems all the time on so many different levels. You need to have a lot of energy. Your mind needs to be on point, which all comes back down to your nutrition and your fitness, which totally affects your state of mind. Probably why we see so many entrepreneurs dealing with so many health related issues. And I think it's something that probably doesn't get spoken about enough, and should. So
So preaching to the choir here. So as an entrepreneur, or talking to budding entrepreneurs or startups, or because I also see a lot of entrepreneurs that are not healthy, don't really prioritize their fitness. What's your advice? What's your recommendations? What are your learnings? Just expand on what you said before. Like, if I talk to my accelerator group, for instance, the EO accelerators, or people that are really wanting to grow their business to that $1 million mark, what would you say to them in relation to health, fitness, nutrition? What should be their priority?
I think the same discipline that you spend trying to get ahead in your financial life should definitely be the same discipline that you apply to your personal life, not just within your fitness, but and nutrition, but relationships and every aspect. If you don't have a strong body and a strong mind, then you're probably not going to be around to enjoy the success of the business, right? Or at least not as enjoyable. And so I just think it's a foundational piece. Obviously I'm maybe a bit biased being in the health and fitness space, but being in EO as well, I see and other businesses that entrepreneurs that I see over the years, and I meet all the time. There's some pretty unhealthy people, and I think there's a bit of a culture of you deserve to have a drink after a hard day at work. Well, do you though? Like, don't you deserve something better that's gonna not saying that I don't love to have a glass of wine every now and then, but I think it's just an important habit to have to get the most out of your entrepreneurial journey, and just to be able to enjoy the fruits.
So would you say that your discipline in your fitness, but also your nutrition, your meditation, do you think that has played an important part, or to what extent does that play an important part in the success of your business?
I definitely think it's I can just bring my A game to the business all the time. I'm not fatigued mentally. I'm not hungover, I guess is a good word. and it totally helps. And if you look at any high performing entrepreneurs, they all have a very similar. I mean, there's a lot that don't, but there's a significant amount that are starting to go on this journey and realizing that, hey, if I don't have my health, then I probably don't have anything else. So what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. Great point to finish it with, because I think this is the life lesson for both startup entrepreneurs, consultants, business owners, or even if you work as a professional. I think it's important for everybody. Any other parting words of wisdom, things you want to share with other professionals, be it in their own business or working as an executive professional?
Nothing more than just I think innovate, focus on your innovation, or or you're not going to get ahead too far. So
And stay healthy.
And stay healthy, and buy home gym.
Ideally from you when you're in Australia.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure as always. I am so in awe of what you do and how you do it. And it's always very inspirational to have a chat with you. So thank you for your time. As always, if people want to reach out to you, I did have a slide with your two main businesses. So it's australianfitnesssupplies.com.au and gymandfitness.com.au. Those are your two main websites.
Probably search me on LinkedIn as well, and add me there. And, happy to chat.
You're open to people connecting with you on LinkedIn, so that will be wonderful. If people have questions about e-commerce or gym and fitness or just anything business or health and nutrition related, feel free to reach out to Dan. So thank you. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to stop the live stream now so we can have a offline chat after this.
Thanks,